I used to think every marriage had small secrets until I realized mine was built on them. It started the night I came home early from work. The house was dark, except for the faint glow from our bedroom. I could hear my wife, Elena, talking, but her voice was low, rushed, almost nervous. When I pushed the door open, she jumped like I had caught her doing something illegal. She snapped her phone screen off so fast it made a sound. I asked who she was talking to. She shrugged it off, said it was just work, but her cheeks were flushed and she wouldn't look me in the eye. When she brushed past me to the bathroom, her perfume hit me, a scent she only wore on special occasions, not a random Tuesday night. I followed her and told her she didn't need to hide anything from me. She laughed, cold and sharp, and said I was being dramatic. Then she locked the bathroom door, something she had never done before. That was the first time I felt it, that heavy, sinking pressure in my chest that whispers, something's wrong. But the real red flag came an hour later. She walked out of the bathroom smiling, and her wedding ring was missing. When I asked where it was, she didn't flinch. She just said, I forgot it at the gym, as if that made sense at 10 o'clock at night. We went to bed without another word. She fell asleep fast. I didn't. I stared at the back of her head, thinking about the frantic whispering, the perfume, the missing ring, and the way she laughed when I questioned her. It was the first moment I realized I might be sleeping next to a stranger. And the next morning, things got even worse.
The next morning, Elena woke up unusually cheerful, humming in the kitchen like nothing happened, poured me coffee, kissed my cheek, and asked about my plans for the day. Overly sweet, overly attentive. It felt rehearsed, like she was trying to reset the board. While she showered, her phone buzzed on the counter. The screen preview lit up with a single line. Last night was perfect. I still can't stop thinking about you. No name, just a number. My heart started pounding so hard I could barely breathe. Before I could scroll, the notification vanished. Seconds later, she stepped out of the bathroom and snatched the phone like I was holding a weapon. She didn't ask why I had it. She just glared and said, don't go through my things. Not scared, not guilty, angry, like I crossed the line. Later that day, she suddenly developed a new late-night fitness routine, even though she's always hated the gym. 3 nights in a row, she left the house at 9 p.m. and came back after midnight, claiming she lost track of time. But she didn't come home sweaty, her hair perfect, makeup untouched, and every time she returned, she walked straight to the bathroom, locked the door, and FaceTimed someone with the sink running to hide her voice. I asked if something was going on. She rolled her eyes and told me I needed a hobby so I'd stop obsessing. She said it with the kind of calm that makes you feel crazy for even asking, but I wasn't crazy. On Friday night, I decided to follow her. I waited until she got into her car, then drove after her with my lights off. My stomach was in knots, my mind screaming at me to stop, to trust her, to go home. I didn't listen. She didn't go to the gym. She drove to a luxury apartment complex on the other side of town, the kind you don't visit unless someone buzzes you in. She parked, sat there, smiled at her phone, and then someone from the building came out and got in her car. A man. They didn't drive off. They just sat there together. And the way she leaned into him made my entire body go numb. I wanted to confront them right there, but something told me to wait, to get proof. So I pulled out my phone to take photos. The flash went off, and both of their heads snapped toward me. The moment the flash went off, panic shot through me like electricity. I dropped the phone to my lap and ducked behind my steering wheel, praying they hadn't actually seen me. Through the windshield, I watched Elena stare straight toward my car, squinting into the darkness. The man beside her leaned forward too, like he was trying to identify a threat. After 10 brutal seconds, they relaxed. She laughed, he laughed, and then, unbelievable, she kissed him, full, without hesitation, not a moment of guilt. I sat frozen, my hands shaking so badly I could barely breathe. I should have felt angry, but all I felt was shock. It was like watching a stranger wearing my wife's face. After 15 minutes, the man got out and jogged back into the building. Elena stayed in the car, scrolling her phone, grinning like a teenager in love. When she finally drove away, I let 12 cars pass before I followed her home with headlights on this time, not to hide, but to force myself to stay in control. When she walked into the house, her keys jingling like nothing had happened, I was waiting on the couch. I didn't attack her. I didn't accuse her. I just asked who the man was. She didn't skip a beat. She laughed as if I had told it joke, tossed her purse on the counter and said, a personal trainer. I told you I started with one. You never listen. I told her I had seen them. She rolled her eyes and said, I misunderstood. When I mentioned the kiss, she scoffed, said, I'm imagining things, that headlights reflecting off the window can make it look like anything. Then she did something I wasn't prepared for. She grabbed my phone from the coffee table, opened my camera roll, and showed me the photo I took, except the screen was black. The flash I thought went off? She claimed it was just glare. She said, you're paranoid. You need help. Her voice wasn't upset. It was cold, emotionless, calculated, like she had rehearsed every line before she walked through the door. I stayed silent, but she leaned down, got inches from my face, and said quietly, if you keep pushing this, you're going to destroy this marriage. Not me, you. Then she picked up her purse and went to bed, leaving me alone in the dark. The next morning, I checked the
the phone again, convinced I would find the photo. It was gone, deleted, but she made a mistake. One image had been automatically synced to my cloud. A single thumbnail, blurry but obvious. Elena inside her car with that man, and in the background of the photo, something else caught my eye. The man was wearing a wedding ring.
The wedding ring bothered me more than the kiss. If he was married to, then this wasn't some random fling. It was organized, hidden, repeated. They both had something to lose, which meant they were both invested in keeping it alive. I didn't confront her right away. I wanted to see how far she would go. So I spent the next few days acting normal, and that's when her behavior became even clearer. She kept planting doubt in my head, deliberately. Every time I asked a harmless question, she flipped it into an accusation against me. Why are you always watching me? Do you realize how controlling you sound? You're making problems up because you're bored. And the more calm I stayed, the more aggressive she got. Like she needed me to break first so she could use it against me. I invited her to dinner one night to talk. Halfway through the meal, I told her I felt we were drifting apart and I wanted to reconnect. I didn't even mention the cheating. The second she sensed vulnerability, she pounced. She said, "You're the reason this marriage feels distant. That I was emotionally exhausting. That I read negativity into everything." It was like she had a prepared speech and she delivered it without emotion, without hesitation, without a single crack in her voice. When we got home, she walked straight to the bedroom and started packing a bag. I asked where she was going. She said she needed space from my insecurity. I told her that running wasn't fixing anything. She laughed and said something I'll never forget. "Why don't you record me right now so you can replay it later and twist my words? That's what paranoid people do." She wanted me to snap, to scream, to give her an excuse to walk out and blame me. When I didn't react, she unzipped the bag, unpacked everything, and put each item away slowly while watching me, like she was searching for signs of anger, like she needed proof for some narrative she had already written. That night, she slept beside me, but stayed on the edge of the bed, scrolling her phone until 3 a.m., smiling silently at her screen. The next day, she installed a new lock screen password. She never accidentally left her phone around again. She started going out earlier, coming back later, but always with the exact same excuse: gym. She wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. And just when I thought I had seen every form of manipulation she was capable of, she introduced a new one. She suggested we start couples counseling, not to fix the marriage, but because, according to her, I needed professional help for my delusions. And she already had a therapist in mind, someone she trusted. She handed me the business card, and when I read the name on it, my stomach dropped. It was the same last name as the man from the car.
Seeing that last name on the card was like ice water down my spine. I didn't say anything, didn't react. If she wanted me to walk into a trap, I wasn't going to make it easy. That night, while she showered, I searched the therapist online. My pulse was so loud in my ears I could barely think. And there it was. First image result, a professional headshot. Same jawline, same eyes, same man from the car. She wanted to send me to her lover's husband for therapy. She wasn't just cheating, she was building alibis, controlling the narrative, preparing to discredit me before I even exposed her. If I confronted her and she painted me as unstable first, who would people believe? A calm wife with a therapist to back her up, or a husband driven mad by jealousy? I realized something terrifying. She had planned everything. The coldness, the accusations, the insecurity tactics, the counseling suggestion. She was trying to make me the unreliable one. I needed leverage, evidence she couldn't twist. So the next day I took a risk. I went to the luxury apartment building. When I walked inside, the security guard looked up and nodded at me like he recognized me. That confused me, so I approached. I said I was there to pick up my wife's gym key card and gave Elena's name casually. The guard didn't question it. Instead, he pulled up the resident directory to look for her locker number. And there it was, on the screen. Elena Morales, penthouse 10B. Not a guest, a resident. She had an apartment I didn't know about. My hands started shaking. I asked if she came alone. The guard said usually, except when her husband visits. I felt the blood leave face. I swallowed and asked, her husband, what does he look like? The guard described the man from the car. He thought she was married to him. 2 husbands, 2 homes, 2 lives. I walked out in a daze. Everything made sense now. The ring she didn't wear, the secret perfume, the rehearsed lies. She wasn't cheating on me with a boyfriend. I was the other man. And the worst part, she wasn't done with me. She came home that night acting warm, affectionate, like nothing had ever happened. She cooked dinner. She joked. She touched my arm like we were newlyweds. And then she looked me straight in the eyes and said, "You're the best thing that ever happened to me." But right after she said it, her phone lit up in her hand, and the contact glowing on the screen wasn't a name. It was a single black heart emoji. She saw me looking, and she smiled, not lovingly, knowingly. The moment she smiled at me over that glowing phone screen, something in me snapped, not into rage, but into clarity. She wanted me reactive. She wanted chaos she could weaponize. So I did the opposite. I asked, calmly, "Who was that?" She shrugged, careless. "A coworker. Relax." I kept my voice steady. "The married coworker you have a penthouse with?" Her expression didn't shift. No panic, no guilt, just stillness. Then she slowly
slowly placed her phone face down on the table and said, "We're not doing this." But I was done letting her steer the narrative, so I pulled out a folder, printed security directory pages showing her name registered to Penthouse 10B, the photo from the cloud backup, a screenshot of the therapy listing with her lover's face. I put everything in front of her like cards in a courtroom. She didn't even look. Instead, she shook her head and laughed, not nervous, not afraid, amused. "You think any of that matters?" she asked. "Screenshots? Records? Do you honestly think people will take the side of a jealous husband over a woman who says he's unstable?" She leaned forward, voice low and vicious. "I could tell everyone you're abusive. I could cry once, and they'd believe me. You know that." I didn't speak. I needed something from her, something real, an admission. So I asked the one question I knew she couldn't refuse. Why him? For the first time in weeks, she broke character. Her eyes narrowed, her lip curled, and she said, "Because he's everything you're not. He knows exactly how to treat me." It hurt like a blade, but I kept my face blank. She stood up, grabbed her keys, and said she was leaving, that she was done entertaining my delusions. As she walked toward the door, I said quietly, "Then you won't mind if I talk to your other husband." That stopped her cold. She turned around slowly, and the hatred in her eyes was almost physical. "You don't understand what you're getting into. You have no idea who he is." And before I could reply, her phone, still on the table, lit up again, this time with a message preview clearly visible. "Tell him we're finishing this tonight." She lunged for the phone, but I got to it first. She froze, completely still. Then she whispered, "Give me the phone now." I said no. She didn't argue, she didn't scream. She smiled and walked out the front door without her phone. 5 minutes later, headlights flashed through the window, someone pulling into the driveway fast, and I realized she hadn't gone for help. She had gone to get him.
The engine outside didn't idle. It roared. Tires spit gravel. Whoever was in that car wasn't coming to talk. I stepped away from the window and back toward the hallway, phone still in my hand. For a moment, I thought about calling the police, but what would I even say? My wife has 2 husbands and they're coming to silence me? I needed evidence protected, not a half-baked report. The front doorknob rattled. Once, twice, then a fist slammed into the wood so hard the picture frames on the wall shook. I recognized the voice instantly. The same voice I heard laughing in her car. "Open the door." He wasn't shouting. He didn't need to. His tone was confident, like someone who expected obedience. I didn't move. Another blow hit the door, harder this time. The hinges groaned. I knew seconds from now the lock would splinter. So I grabbed the house phone, the landline we never used, and dialed the security office of his apartment building. I told the guard I had urgent information about the resident of Penthouse 10B and asked if I could send it to his email. He agreed. I sent everything. The evidence, the timeline, photos, cross-references, packaged neatly. If something happened to me, there would be a trail that led straight to them. Another hit cracked the door frame. Wood chips scattered across the floor. I shouted through the door, "I've sent everything to building security. If anything happens to me, every resident in your building will know who you are and what she's doing." Silence. The next voice wasn't his. It was hers. Calm, controlled. "Open the door so we can talk. You're confused. We can fix this." I pictured the therapist's business card, the manipulation, the false narratives already prepared. If I opened that door, the story would become whatever they wanted it to be. So I said nothing. After a long pause, she exhaled slowly, not scared, not defeated, calculating. "We'll be back," she said, "and next time, you won't be able to hide behind lies." The car tore out of the driveway a moment later. I locked every door, every window, paced the living room until the sun came up. I expected fear, but what I felt instead was clarity. I finally knew the truth, all of it. The double life, the lies, the rehearsed persona, the danger under the surface. And I realized something else. She had been preparing to leave me long before I figured anything out. The fake counseling, the scripted arguments, the attempts to frame me as unstable. She hadn't just been cheating. She had been building an escape route and a reputation to destroy me on her way out. The next afternoon, I packed a single bag, grabbed the folder of evidence, and walked out of the house without looking back. I didn't leave a note. I didn't text her. I didn't warn her. After everything she'd done, she didn't deserve closure. I checked into a hotel using a different last name. I turned off my phone. I scheduled a meeting with a lawyer, someone who specialized in high-conflict separations and digital evidence. And for the first time in months, I slept through the night. But peace didn't last long, because the next morning, the hotel front desk called my room.
I didn't go near the lobby. Stayed on the phone with the clerk and asked how she knew to find me here. The clerk hesitated, then said my wife had shown proof of marriage, framed photos of us. I felt sick. She wasn't trying to find me because she missed me. She was trying to regain control of the narrative before I could expose her. I told the clerk not to send anyone up and to call hotel security. Then I hung up, grabbed my bag, and headed for the service exit. Halfway down the back stairwell, I heard footsteps above, fast, determined. She wasn't giving up. By the time I reached the parking lot, a black SUV rolled around the corner. Her and him again. I didn't run. I walked straight to my car, got in, locked the doors, and stared at them through the windshield. She stepped out first, not angry, not panicked, smiling, like this was romantic, like we were in some passionate tale instead of a trap she had built. She mouthed the words, "Come home." But behind her, he wasn't smiling. He was pacing, jaw clenched, like someone whose life was finally slipping out of his hands. I didn't start the engine right away. I wanted them to see the shift. Not fear, not desperation,
just certainty. I held up my phone with my lawyer's voicemail visible on the screen, newly recorded, time-stamped, stating I had evidence of bigamy, deception, and possibly fraud. Her smile vanished instantly. I didn't need to shout or threaten. I just said one sentence through the cracked window. Everything you built is going to collapse, and you did it to yourself. For the first time since the entire nightmare began, she didn't have a response. No excuse, no manipulation, no gaslighting. Just silence. The one thing she could never use as a weapon. I drove away without looking in the rearview mirror, and this time, they didn't follow. The legal process took months. Evidence from both households surfaced. The paper trail she thought she controlled turned into a cage around her. The perfect therapist husband learned more than he ever expected, and the two of them tore each other apart without me lifting a finger. When the divorce finalized, I didn't celebrate. I didn't feel triumphant. I just felt free. Sometimes healing doesn't come with fireworks or closure. Sometimes it's just waking up one morning and realizing you don't have to check someone's tone, someone's story, someone's loyalty anymore. She was a chapter of my life, but not the story. And the day I stopped trying to understand why she lied was the day I finally got myself back.